Hey team, Dr. Michael McCarthy here, and today we're going to talk about scaling. What you see here is the last example where we input data, we autofill the data, then we impute to remove nulls, then we impute to remove nulls, then we impute to remove nulls, and then we use formula to remove nulls. The next thing I want to do is to normalize my quantitative data, not my categorical data, my quantitative data. So I'm not totally sure how to do this. I'm new to Alteryx, so I'm going to come up here and click Standardize. And what I find actually right here, nothing comes up under the tools, but I see this Standardize Z-score tool. I'm like, oh, there's a tool for this. Let me take a look at it. And I start reading through what this has to say. I was like, oh, this has exactly what I want. It actually configures exactly the way I want it. Well, where can I find this tool? And interestingly enough, there is this note here that says it's not available on the normal palette. I have to go search for it in my program files. This is very non-standard, but it's worth checking out. So I take this file string, I can right click on it and click copy, and then I'm going to go to my file and I'm just going to paste this in and hit enter. And there it is. Here's my Standardized Z-score tool right in a supporting macro inside my Alteryx software. So the question is how to get this in. So the first time I tried to do it, I just tried to drag and drop it in. So let me see if I can just drag and drop it in. It brings in the macro. And this is very interesting. You actually can see exactly how the macro works. So it inputs the data, it selects the different fields, and this is how it's configured. It transposes the fields, and there's actually directions on how it goes through. And then it joins them. It does a quick formula. This is exactly the formula we want. The value minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. Pretty straightforward. And over here it finds the standard deviation right here. This is where it finds it, and it brings it back into this join. So it's separating the data, bringing it back together, does a formula, selects what it wants to output, and then it gives it a record name. I can see it here, or I can output it here. And this is the output to the macro. But I still want it in my flow, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And I found if I right click on my canvas, I can click insert, and I come down here to macro. And because I've already seen it once, there it is. Or I can browse to it, and I can type in that same file path, and there it is. I cut and pasted the file path up here with a right click. I highlight it with a right click, and I click paste, and there it is. And then I just select what I want, the standardized Z-score, and it pops it in there. Now I'm going to bring it up here, and of course, every time I go ahead and add browses after all. So let me go ahead and run it. Oh no, what happened here? I had an error. So let me scroll down and look at what the error has to say for this. Oh, and it says it's not a number. So this is telling me, even though I look at the configuration of this, it says this is non-configurable. That's very interesting. It's very unique for a tool in Alteryx. But it says that it clearly wants numbers. So what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. And I'm going to add a select field. I'm only going to select my variables that are numbers. So this is a double, that's a number. Column 3 is a double. Column 4 is a string, no thank you. Column 6 is a string, no thank you. And column 7 is unknown, don't need that. So, and of course, I always add a browse. Let me go and run it now. Great. And so I have two outputs here. I actually have, here are my z-scores, and here are the plots. And then here are my mean and standard deviation for the different columns. So it gives me what it used to calculate, and it also gave me the actual z-scores. These are standardized coefficients for each variable. So it's also called a z-score. And then here are the plots. And I can make this a lot bigger to take a look at the plots. So I hope this demonstration was helpful for you to understand how to use a Alteryx tool, the Standardized Z-score tool, to identify the Z-scores for different numerical quantitative variables. Thanks. Cheers.